We are back. New York City Baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko. My co-hosts are Alan Blumkin from New York. Alan?
Hi, Ralph.
How are you, sir?
I am there.
Okay. And Marty Rose from New York originally and now living in Florida. How are you, Mert?
I'm good, Ralph. How are you, Alan? Hi.
Hi, Marty.
Yeah, we're set for a very interesting show. Our guest is about to join us, Rod Gaspar, or is it Ron Gaspar? We'll have to ask him when he joins us. Former New York Met, and not just the New York Met, 1969 World Champion New York Met, and he has many stories to tell us, so I can't wait for that. In the meantime, this is being recorded on the 1st of August, which is what they call in baseball the trade deadline. Now, it really isn't the trade deadline altogether because deals can be made after this with provided folks go through waivers. It's a little more difficult to move people. But for all practical purposes, in a sense, this is it. And as a Met fan, Mert, I want to find out if you're happy with the way the day went, and I want to hear from you first.
Okay. Well, obviously they tried to get Lou Croy and weren't able to come to any kind of agreement with the Brewers. But look,
Rod.
everybody knows they need hitting. So they got a guy who's leading the league in RBIs. So you can't.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
Hey, Mert, you and Alan take it for a second. I've got Rod Gaspar on the line. I'm trying to get it coordinated. So you guys chat.
Sure.
Yeah, Marty, what do you think of Nice coming back?
Oh, man. Well, look, he's, from what I'm hearing, he's just going to be a bullpen guy, at least until somebody else gets hurt. You know, the way the pitchers have been going on the Mets, they've been going down quite often. But in any case, I mean, look, to me, he's better than. He has to be better than what we were getting out of Bastardo as a left-handed guy out of the bullpen. So even though, I don't know, there was some kind of thing going on with him when he left, he badmouthed some people, is what they were saying. I seem to remember something about that, but they said they were going to have to mend some fences and the manager said they're going to have a talk with him. When he came in, but as a left-hander out of the bullpen, I think he'll be fine. So.
Pirates, were using him as a starter, and he was not good enough to be in innings either.
No.
That means that the Mets basically stole Neil Walker.
That's true.
Yes. Yes, I'm back. And Rod Gaspar is on his way in. So the little click should be going off momentarily.
Okay.
Yes, we got a good rental in Neil.
Yeah.
Here's our guest, Mr. Rod Gaspar, finally. And I don't even know how to pronounce your name, Rod, because when we talked off the air, you surprised me by saying, when you gave me your email, you said Gaspar. How do you pronounce it?
It's G-A-S.
P-A-R?
That's how we
Gaspar
pronounce
to you. Okay.
Ralph.
Well, all
right. Hey, Ralph. It's
yes.
G-A-S-P-A-R. We pronounce it Gaspar, but Gaspar is fine.
Okay, well, all these years, I always thought I could tell a true Met fan by how they pronounced Gaspar, and it was Gaspar. So they didn't know a true Met fan. Nice to have you in the zone, Mr. Gaspar.
You're welcome, Ralph.
All right,
no problem.
thanks for some. I'd like you to meet Alan Blumkin from New York.
Hi, Rod.
Alan?
Hi.
Alan?
Yes.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm fine.
And
How are
Marty
you?
Rose, originally from New York. We were both from Jackson Heights, now living in Florida. Marty Rose, Rod Gaspar.
Hi, Rod. Pleasure.
Hey, Marty. Good, Marty. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. Marty and I were original Met fans growing up in the city. And guess what? We were both in the Air Force when the miracle of 1969 took place. And as it turned out in the World Series, you were a big part of it. There's a legend going on, and will always go on. The Hall of Famer Frank Robinson, the star outfielder of the Baltimore Orioles, didn't really recognize you and kind of said sarcastically something to the effect of, "Who the heck is Rod Gaspar?" He didn't even know.
A lot of people didn't recognize me, so it's no big deal to me. But
no, not just to you, but he was kind of mocking the team, a bunch of that you didn't belong there, and this and that. And a big deal was made of that in the press, and the Mets obviously did their thing in 1969. All three of us have a lot of questions to ask you about those years and or about that time, and then more importantly, we want to get to know you. So get 1969 out of the way quickly if we can, and we'll go from there. Marty, you had some questions for Mr. Gaspar.
Okay, Rod. Well, like Ralph said, he and I were both in the service. I wasn't even in the country that year. But besides the point, I was able to listen to the games on the radio, which is a good thing, which saved me. But I have to ask, from 1968 to 1969, I mean, the Mets' history prior to 1969 was just horrible. I mean, all the way from the beginning. When 1969 started, what was the feeling on the team, and was there any feeling at all that what happened was even possible?
Well, what changed is 1968. Of course, as you guys know, probably more than I do, because you guys are New Yorkers, was when they brought Gil Hodges in. And I'm sure if you've talked to the 69 Met players, my buddies on the team, they'll tell you the same thing. When Hodges came over, it was a whole new outlook, whole new attitude, for the 68 Mets, and they had a good year that year. I forget what their record was, but I don't think they finished in last place as they had every year except one. But when Gil came over, everything changed, and he was always a winner when he played with Brooklyn, and of course, and in Los Angeles, and he brought that attitude to the young Met team. And when I say young Met team, that's what I mean, a young Met team. We could fill the team in '69 under 24 years of age. Okay, with Crane Pool first, who was 24, Boswell second, 23, Harrelson short, 24, Wayne Garrett 22 at third, and then if I was in the outfield, 23, and then Svoboda and Agee or Cleon, they're all
Shamsky too. They were young guys.
Yeah, Shamsky, he was a little older, but he was like 26 was all, or 20, whatever. But we had a young ball club, and I think we weren't smart enough to really let the previous year's effective, I didn't think anything about the Mets. All I thought about was, if I was drafted by them 2 years in a row, and I figured if I'm going to get the big leagues, it's going to be at the club that's, not a first division club, which the Mets weren't at that time. And of course, I got there in less than a year and a half. But we had some guys that could play the game, as Robinson said, a bunch of no names. But so what? I was on this one program from New York, I think it was MLB Network or something, and they talk about that, and I says, that's fine. I mean, you can field who you want, but it's not the names on the players; it's how the players play. And we had a bunch of no names, but we could play ball, and obviously we did that by sweeping Atlanta and winning 4 or 5 from the Orioles, who were, as you said earlier, it just wasn't Robinson. He was their so-called team leader. He's a pretty mouthy guy.
Brooksy, it was Brooks, Robinson.
Yeah, all those guys. I mean, they could almost field an all-star team with Brooks at third and Belanger at short, and who wasn't as good as Harrelson, I didn't think. And then Davey Johnson at second, Boog Powell at first, and the outfield, as you know, with Blair, Robinson, and Buford, and their catchers, Elrod, and the other guy, I forget his name now, but yeah, and they have pitching staff that, 2 years later had 4 20-game winners. So, if you look at that and you look at the Mets, and all people remember about the Mets is Tom Seaver, really, because Nolan really hadn't come on yet, But
right.
It's funny, we talk about this stuff, and Tom Seaver was on a program, it's called some baseball seasons that was on MLB. I don't know if they do it anymore, but I taped that, and I think Costas was the MC, and he asked Tom. He says, he said, if you guys, the '69 Mets, played the '69 Orioles, how many, out of 10 games, out of 10 series, how many do you think you'd win? And I figured Tom would say, maybe 2, 3, maybe 4, and Seaver said, probably 7 or 8 of them. And I thought, I like that, because in my mind, I'm thinking maybe 3, maybe 4. But if Seaver can say that, he had a lot more experience at it than I did. We had a real good ball club. I mean, again, we had a bunch of no-names, but we had some guys that could play defense, could hit in the clutch, and of course, we had outstanding pitching and the best manager in baseball. So, I don't really look at names. I don't care who the so-called studs are. It doesn't make any difference to me. I look at just guys that can play and play cohesively as we did, because, Gil ran that team like a businessman. I'm telling you, we all knew what our job was. He didn't have to tell us.
Right, no surprises when you came in. I want to know how much of a difference Clendenin made. I know it seems he made a big difference, but was it as much of a difference as from the inside as it is looking from the outside, looking in from the outside?
Oh yeah, Kranepool was one of the first ones to say that. When we brought him in, we had some big time power there, and Don did a just tremendous job. I mean, my goodness, obviously he's the MVP of the World Series, but here's a guy that could hit one out, which not many guys on our team could. AG had 26 home runs as a leadoff hitter, but not too many other guys hit that many home runs. And we brought Clendenin in on that June 15th, I think it was June 15th. Trading deadline or something at that time. He just... And
Wayne-Garrett was the third, but so was Joey Foy. Am I correct?
No. Foy came in the next year. That was the Mets. That's right. That was the Mets' downfall after '69.
That was Amos Otis trade.
Yeah, they made some trades.
Yeah, that was the next guy. Sorry.
Right. The Mets had a farm system that was the best in baseball, and whoever, I don't even know who the farm director was at the time, but I know the director of player development was Whitey Herzog. And Whitey was one of the best baseball men ever. And I'm telling you, we have some guys that could play in that farm system. And, I think the start of the downfall was getting Joe Foy, who proved to be a bust. And they're always looking for a third baseman. Well, they had Wayne Garrett. And Wayne could play. He was a good, solid player. But I think Joe McDonald was the guy at the time. I forget. But, the Mets had a tremendous stockpile of players. I mean, they should have, one of those should have, could have things. and won for many years, especially if Gil hadn't died. But I'm sure you've heard that story before.
Oh yeah,
but,
that was terrible.
Very good organization at the time with Mrs. Payson, excellent organization at that time. By the way, I have my grandson here. He spent the night. One of our grandchildren. He spent the night with us, Braden Gaspar. Remember that name now, Braden Gaspar. He's going to be a future big league ball player. All right.
Oh wow, beautiful. He's
14 years old. So, and he's a catcher. I'm trying to get him to play first base, but he likes catching. I said, you get beat up playing catcher, Braden, but he's not going to listen to Grandpa.
It's the fastest way to the big leagues. Grandpa knows that.
Yeah. That's right. You don't have to hit too much to get in the big leagues if you're a catcher.
Oh.
But besides that, he's a great
not. Absolutely not. Hey, Rod, could you tell me about Cleon and the way that Gil related with him and some of the stories there?
I'm sorry, with Gil related to whom?
Cleon Jones.
Oh, with Cleon. I guess the big one, of course, was when Gil took him out of the game that one time.
Right.
And I don't really, as far as how Gil related to guys, he was the boss, man. I mean, it's not like today's game where the players or the players' agents run the shows and the managers I think a lot of them are puppets, But Gil ran the show. He was the boss. And when that one game, I forget who we were playing. It might have been Houston. I forget. But there's a fly ball to left field, and I'm sure you guys remember this. And, Cleon couldn't get to the ball or didn't get to the ball. And Hodges, called timeout and started walking out toward the pitcher's mound. So the pitcher thought he was coming to him. And he walked past the pitcher's mound. Have you heard this story before?
Yeah. I was watching it.
Oh, were you? Yeah, they go
on television. I was watching it on television.
Yeah, then he goes towards shortstop. So Harrelson's thinking he's up, he's nervous. He said, "What did I do?" Then he walked past Harrelson and got to Cleon, and he just said, "Come on, Cleon, let's go. You're hurt."
He motioned him off. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. See, Cleon followed him off the field, kept him out of a few games. And Gil never made anything of it. He just said that, Cleon was hurt. He had a couple of days off. And after that, for some reason, we took off again. And, of course, Cleon ended up he was leading the league in hitting for quite a while. And I think hitting third in the league behind Rose and Matty Alou, I think. He hit 340 that year. But
he hit 343
I thought it was 340, but anyway, that's close enough. But Cleon was a good guy, and I know to this day he respects and Hodges to the utmost, as everybody in our team does and did. There were conflicts. There's always conflicts on any group of people.
Right.
But I tell you, Gil kept it in line, and we knew what our job was, and we finished it, obviously.
Now, Yogi was a coach on that team and later took over for Gil when he passed away. Tell me some Yogi stories. Anything that we don't know about Yogi that would be nice to hear? Well,
there's not many I could say. I remember I was sitting next to Yogi when the last out was made, when the ball Johnson hit the Cleon. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
When he hit it, when Johnson hit it, and cruising through that fastball, and he hit, I thought he hit it well enough to hit it out. But Yogi, with all his years of experience, I don't know, he just knew. He said, as soon as he hit it, he said, that's it, that's the game. But I thought Johnson hit it, I thought the ball was going out of the ballpark, but Cleon did catch the ball right in front of the warning track. But Yogi knew. The instincts he had from playing all those years as a catcher, he could probably just, at that time, tell by the sound of the bat, the ball hitting the bat. But Yogi, Yogi
sometimes the great players aren't great teachers. Was Yogi a good teacher as well?
Well, I can't say that because he never tried to instruct me, probably because I was too stupid to realize what a great ball player and great baseball mind he had. but I would think he would be an excellent teacher if people listen to him. But I don't really know. I really can't give you a lot of Yogi Bear stories, except for the one thing is that he is a quality individual. Everything you hear about him being the nicest, humblest man out there. He was. I mean, he was probably the nicest guy I've ever met in baseball. I mean, he was just a sweetheart of a guy, very humble, nice guy, funny, of course, and always had that big smile on his face.
Yeah, that's nice to hear, right, Alan Blumkin?
Oh, yes. Yogi was my all-time favorite player. I was fortunate to see him play often. I started watching baseball in 1951. And
wow.
Yogi, just from the nickname and from the baseball cards, I started following him very, very closely. And anytime anybody puts up a picture of him on Facebook, I immediately put my all-time favorite.
Hey, Alan, you know how Yogi got his name, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 Okay.
He looked like a yogi, and it stuck. I mean,
yeah.
And that helped his fame, because if he was known as Larry Berra,
that's right.
A lot of things wouldn't have come his way. And the biggest thing I think happened with him is when, after DiMaggio passed, Yogi became the leading Yankee icon. And Steinbrenner had to go crawling on his knees to the museum out in Montclair, New Jersey, to get Yogi to come back to Yankee Stadium.
That's right. That's right.
I was there for Yogi Berra Day when David Cohn pitched the perfect game. I got tickets.
Oh, were you?
Berra Day. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you remember? I mean, you started following Yogi when you're in 1951. How old were you then?
I was 8.
Okay, so you got me by a couple of years. I'm 70
I know that. I
right
looked
now.
you up on BaseballReference.com, and I see you had a number of minor league seasons in Hawaii. What was that like?
Playing baseball in Hawaii.
Yeah.
We enjoyed it. You'd rather be in the big leagues, of course, but if you got to play in the minor leagues, that's the place to play. We won a couple of Pacific Coast League championships over there too. So I don't just have the World Series ring. I have 2 other championship rings. They're as big as the Met ring, but they don't look nearly as good as that Met ring.
No,
that's something
I
else.
can imagine that. But I bet you on some levels they're equally important in your head.
Yeah,
the memories.
Yeah, they are, and I have them. And in fact, I have Braden was here, and his brothers, his 2 younger brothers, were here. And we took some pictures. A few months ago, and I brought the rings out. And in fact, they have their baseball uniforms on, and I put on a New York Met uniform, and the 4 of us took pictures here at our house. Oh yeah. So.
And you had to remind me that it was number 17, even though, as Marty remembers, I bought from Max Zaslavsky, his store. Where was it, on 43rd Street, Mert?
I can't remember, Ralph.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I bought a jersey, a Rod Gaspar jersey, back in the days when I thought it was Gaspar.
But you know what?
Yes.
You know what? Is that it's probably, the name probably should be pronounced Gaspar, but for whatever reason, growing up, my parents always said Gaspar, and the correct pronunciation probably should be Gaspar, but that's all right. I don't care.
I think we're educating people on that, and it should be pronounced the way you want it pronounced. So it's Gaspar to me from now on.
Okay, that's fine. It's easier anyways. I'll tell people, I'll say, I'll spell my name like Par and Golf, P-A-R, like Par and Golf,
right.
which I don't see Par.
Because my name was Tikachinsky until kindergarten. So,
who should spell that name?
I know, not me. They had to change it because I was in kindergarten for 3 years over that, and part of it was I didn't want to embarrass my dad, who was in the 1st grade. So,
oh wow!
No, that's just me being a silly old guy. Tell me how you broke into organized ball. You were drafted. I want to where were you playing? You're out of high school, I assume.
No, I was out of high school. I was just an ordinary ball player. I was always real small for my age. I told Braden this. I said, Braden, when I was 16, I was 5'2", 105 pounds, and he's 14 now, and he's 5'7", I don't know, 100 and something, So, these kids always get concerned about wanting to be big. Well, there's nothing you can do about that. But so I was always smaller in high school, but I could compete with the bigger kids because, I was a good athlete and all. And it wasn't until I got out of high school I started to, as 18 I grew to be 5'9", but I was still growing when I got out of high school. So I went to a local city college here, Long Beach City College, and then I made that team, and the guy got smart and started playing me, and I ended up leading the team in hitting. And I got better and better and bigger and stronger. I went to Long Beach State College, or Cal State Long Beach, whatever they call them nowadays, and ended up playing well there for 2 years. Led, I was all conference and all this and all that. And the Mets drafted me in 1966 out of Long Beach State College. I didn't sign. In 1967, again they drafted me, and then I signed with them in 67. I was ready to go. I was 21 then when I signed, and went to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, their AA club, and had a good year there.
You went right from the draft to AA?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Ralph,
you remember who your manager was?
Oh yeah, I could play a little bit.
Yeah.
Our manager was an old-time guy. You might remember him. Great home run hitter for the Washington Senators, Roy Sievers.
Oh, wow.
Remember that name?
Oh, yeah.
He led the
but I
American
didn't
League
know he was in the Met organization as a manager.
Yeah, he was in
Roy Sievers had a lot of power.
He led the American League in home runs, I think, in early 50s, at least 1 year that I knew of.
He led in home runs.
Sure. Yeah. Roy could hit. The guy was amazing. I mean, he was our manager in AA Williamsport. He's probably, in his 40s then. We're all young. We're in our early 20s or whatever. And that guy was probably a better hitter than any of us. But if you asked him how to hit or he couldn't tell you. But that sucker, you get up there and he can sure hit the ball. It's like Mantle, Probably couldn't tell you how he hits it, but he sure knows how to swing the bat and hit the ball.
That's why I say a lot of the superstars can't pass on the information because either they just do it naturally or just don't have the verbal skills to pass it on. I forgot to ask you about one guy in the Mets, and that's Jerry Grote. I think he was incredibly instrumental in them winning, and I wonder if you agree with me.
Oh, yeah. Jerry, I don't know if you guys... if you're big Met guys, as I know you are, he predicted in the spring training of '69 that we were going to win it. That's what I read. Yeah, I never heard him say that, but I've read that a few times that he thought that we had the pitching staff and the club to win it in 1969. Obviously, he was right. But he, according to Tom Sievers says Grote was the best catcher he ever pitched to. And you know who else Seaver pitched to, don't you?
Johnny Bench.
Yeah.
And
Fisk, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, those guys, they were studs, but he said Grote was the best defensive catcher he ever pitched to. And he had a rocket for an arm, and, Grote, he was a heck of a catcher.
Yeah. Anything about the Rose Harrelson entanglement that you want to pass on?
No, not really, because I wasn't there, and whatever you saw, I saw.
Ralph.
That was in 70. You're right.
Yeah, I was there. I was there when that happened. Yeah.
Oh, you saw? Okay, then you saw more than I did.
Yeah.
But you go and break up a double play, which they aren't allowed to do now. Shame on them. But Pete went in hard like he always did and took Buddy out. Buddy didn't like it, and so they had a little confrontation. Well, do you remember in the World Series when Robinson slid into Harrelson? Remember that one?
No, I don't. No.
You know how hard-nosed a player Frank Robinson was.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely was.
try to get the video of that, of him going into Harrelson or trying to get Harrelson on the double play ball. He didn't get him, Buddy got out of the way, but he flew over the bag. It wasn't one of these, if he did that in today's game, they would fine him, suspend him, and everything else. But Robinson went over the bag.
Unless your name was Utley.
Really? But if you can get, I forget which game it was, but we were playing at Shea Stadium, and double play ball, and Frank went after him. I've never seen a guy go after a shortstop like he went after Harrelson.
I once heard that if Grody played on Cincinnati, that Bench would have been the third baseman.
Probably. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah. Grody can catch, man. But I'll tell you one story about Grody. Okay. Short story here.
Please.
Jerry Kuzman's pitching to Grody, and in the the '69 season. And Grody, he's I'll use the
red ass. He's a red ass.
That's it. I was going to say R.A. And he gets ticked off his pitchers and fireballs. Just fire the ball back to them harder than they throw it to him. He did that one time to Kuzman. And Kuzman said, "You ever do that again, I'm going to kick your ass." And he would have too. And Grody never did it again. Kuzman was nobody to mess with.
Well, there's a great story about Kuzman was in the Army, I think, and he got signed. I think he was with somebody who knew somebody. Was an usher at Shea Stadium.
Right, I heard that story too. I don't know the details. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, his games against the Cubs down the stretch. Those games with the black cat and all that.
Oh, yeah.
That was baseball you guys were playing at that time.
Yeah.
You were on fire.
Right. What was your reaction to, what was the reaction in the dugout to when Swoboda caught that fly ball in the Game 4? That miraculous catch he made in Game 4.
Oh. And who am I talking to?
Alan.
Alan, yeah. Alan, that was the best play I've ever seen an outfielder made. And, I've seen the Willie Mays play. I've seen all these plays the kids make out nowadays. Like Trout, who I'm a big fan of, the Angel kid, and that Edmonds, he was really a good outfielder.
That Edmonds catch was something else.
Yeah, excellent. But these guys are excellent outfielders. Swoboda, and I'll tell you Swoboda's story because he and I got pretty close and still are, is that, I was a good outfielder, defensive outfielder. And I used to, later in the season, go in and play defense in right field. And it would tick Ronnie off. He'd just get so ticked. So he worked his off in 1969. And in fact, we had a card show together a number of years ago, and we're waiting for this bus to take us to the card show from the hotel. And he and I were sitting there, and he started talking to me about that. He brought it up to me about me replacing him. He said, Rodney, it really ticked me off. You replaced me. I said, I don't blame you. He says, I worked my tail off. He said, I used to have Eddie Yost come out every day and hit me, hundreds of fungos in the outfield just to improve my defense. So when Ronnie made that play in the 69 series and Robinson and Brooks hit that ball, I was so happy for him, but of course happy for us too, because if it gets by, that whole series could change right then. But when he made that play, the reason I thought it was the greatest outfield play I've ever seen is because Swoboda wasn't supposed to make those plays. Edmonds is supposed to, Trout's supposed to, Willie Mays is supposed to, not Swoboda. And that play was the best I've ever seen, especially in a clutch situation. And if you notice, after he caught the ball, he got up and threw a rocket to home plate. Didn't get Frank at home, but we tied it. And then the next inning, of course, is when we won it. In fact, I scored the winning run. That was Sievers, as you probably know, only World Series win.
Yeah.
That play by Swoboda was, but to me, because it was Ron Swoboda, because he wasn't supposed to be a good defensive outfielder, but he became a very good defensive outfielder. And and then if you remember the first game when Buford hit that home run ball off Sievers, remember that one?
I was there.
Ron went back.
For
Yes.
The first
Sabota should have had that ball.
The third game, yeah.
Yeah, Sabota should have had that ball that Buford hit in that flimsy fence they had there. He misjudged it or something. He even said he should have had it. And I thought he should have had it. And then he comes back in the fourth game and makes that play. I mean, just incredible play.
Yeah, I remember Jerry Kuzman almost had a no-hitter in the second game.
That's right. That's right.
I was there. I was in Baltimore for the first two, and I at Shea for the third. And when I was working, we watched the fourth and fifth games on TV. That work stopped. Well,
may I ask you? You had no when you signed and you went to AA. You weren't intimidated by it at all.
No.
That's just my guess.
No. I was very confident in my abilities at that time. When I was younger, I'd lost my confidence at an early age because of some things happened to me. But I regained my confidence, my abilities to play the game. I got stronger. And I always thought I was the best player on the team, no matter where I played. But yeah, I went there in AA, and I didn't play for the first week, and I was getting tipped. So they told me the first lie I heard was that you're going to be playing right away, and when you go to after you sign, I didn't play. And then after a week, I get a paycheck for $83, and I'm thinking, man, I got paid for doing nothing, So, but finally, Sievers got smart and put me in to play center field. And the guy who had been playing center field, they say he was like a Silver Glove Award winner and all this, and really a good outfielder. And I watched this guy for a week, and I said, I can see why he's why the guy doesn't make any errors. He doesn't go for anything. He's very cautious out there. I didn't play that way. I was very aggressive, and so, I started playing, and I ended up having I thought a decent year there in AA. I was 10th in the league in hitting. Now think about this. AA, Williamsport Eastern League.
Right.
The ballparks stink. The weather is thick. It's hard to hit. I hit 260. Now, I'd always hit a lot better than that when I played in college and high school and stuff. But this is different. This is pro ball. And this is a pitcher's league. But my 260 was in the top 10 in that Eastern League that year. And there was only one 300 hitter that year. And that was a guy named Bernie Smith. He's our third baseman. And Bernie hit 300 on the nose. Nobody ever gave him a chance to play in the big leagues. But I was 10th in hitting, 260. The next year, they moved their AA club from Williamsport to Memphis, Tennessee, in the Texas League, which is more of a lot thin air league. I hit 310 that year, led the league in hits, and I thought I had a better year the year before when I hit 260. So it just depends on the environment you're playing in, But I
want to make note of what you said, so it's right out there. That you can't tell by errors and number of errors, and that's at every level. How much range does somebody have?
Right.
Does he go after it? Does he take the risk of going after it? You get an error for this, that, and the other thing. And official scoring is very subjective, but that's very well put. Of course, he doesn't make errors. He doesn't go after anything.
You notice how, and I agree, and a lot of guys, I can tell who the aggressive guys are if I watch baseball on TV. I can tell the guys that can play outfield and guys that cannot. Most of them cannot. But if you ever watch these guys, these so-called dives, make these catches, and the announcers say a great play, that is so much baloney. These plays that they dive for, they can catch. But you ever watch it closely. Now, I'm not saying all of them, but, I'd say 80-90% of them, they don't have to dive. And the reason I'm saying this is that what happens, they go after a ball, they actually catch the ball just before they start so-called diving, and then it looks like they dove to make the play. Hey, when you dive to make a play, you're diving full out, and you're catching that ball just off the ground. These guys will catch the ball on a so-called dive chest high. And, the announcers, and some of them are former big league ball players, will say what a great play it is. Give me a break. I had this young kid, he was, in fact, he signed, he's a friend of our daughter's in high school. And this kid was a very good center fielder. The guy could play, and he had a great arm at center field, and he could go get him. And he's a diver. You know, he dove for balls. I said, Hardman, you know, I said, those balls you dive for and so-called make great catches, I said, when I played, I would have been standing there waiting for him. It would drive him crazy. He'd go nuts. So I'd say that. But it's true. It's true how it is. These guys nowadays, I mean, they can't really. If you watch how many steps they take to get rid of the ball, to throw a ball from the outfield, to throw a guy out, they'll take anywhere from 3 to 5 steps to get rid of the baseball. Why do you think Herzog
syndrome?
Yeah, why Herzog taught me when he's with the Mets to take less than a step and a half to get rid of the baseball, and you could still get as much velocity behind the ball as if you took 3, 4, 5 steps. But you know, I don't know. I don't even know if they teach that stuff. But defense is fun. It's always fun to play.
Yeah. Well, Whitey Herzog got a lot of his stuff from being in the Casey Stengel Instructional School. And,
right. Yeah.
Pardon me?
And he was a Kansas City product, wasn't he, Whitey?
Yes.
He came over
yes,
to the Yankees. Yeah.
Originally a Yankee, if I'm not mistaken.
And they sent him to Washington originally.
Yeah, I'm not
the
sure,
Yankees.
But he was a good, Whitey, good baseball man. Excellent. He was a very good baseball man. I tell you, the Mets, I'm telling you, man, in the 60s, they have some good organizational guys and the best farm team in the country, no doubt.
Hey, Rodney, what was the transition to what you guys call civilian life like the year you stopped playing?
Well, 1976, that's when we won our Pacific Coast League Championship. Our manager, Roy Hartsfield, got the expansion draft, got the Toronto Blue Jays job, and I figured, well, I was 30 years old at the time. I figured if I get back to big leagues, that's where it's going to be. Because I hit 300 for them and played center field and led off. They didn't pick me up, which I never understood. But then I found later on that he said he couldn't, which that didn't make sense to me either. But anyways, when I got out of the game, I was ready to get out of the game. We had 2 children, and I was ready to go. I was ready to get out, tired of the traveling. If I'd gone back to the big leagues after the Hawaii season in '76, probably would have played a few more years. But I could still play, and I even hit now at age 70. I still go out and hit once in a while. But the transition for me is when you're out. I mean, these guys that say they have to go to their work and go to their job at the baseball field, that is so much baloney. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not work playing baseball. It's fun, and I enjoyed it. Enjoyed playing it, but I learned what the real world was all about when I started selling life insurance. Boy, I tell you, it's a whole new ball game. And when you
Rod, we have that in common. I did that for New York Life for a long time.
Oh, great company.
When I was a kid.
A great company. Yeah, they're great.
Yes, they were. We can have an insurance discussion sometime off the air, preferably. Off the air. Nothing could. I could bore people about insurance for days and days.
Hey. I know. I'm amazed I was in the business because I wasn't one to bug people or call people. So, but
well, I'll tell you this: if you just remember that everybody and their daughter gets to be in the life insurance business at one time or another, even if it's to take. A lot of people do. And my grandfather used to say, back in the Depression days, there was an expression, there is no one with endurance like the man who sells insurance.
Yeah, really. Then you remember Ben Feldman, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Ben Feldman was from Youngstown, Ohio, which was mafia country. Am I right? Do I have a memory?
Yeah.
And Ben led the league. He led everybody in selling, and he made everybody that was in the business look at themselves, because you don't have to be a crackerjack talker and this, that. Ben was very, very shy. He couldn't even give speeches at meetings, they'd have to put a little curtain up, and you'd see his silhouette. But
wow.
That's how shy he was. But, man, that guy could teach, and that's what selling is, basically, is teaching and guiding. If you have to sell it instead of telling it, you got problems.
You got that right. And
there was another Ben, and his name was Ben Liss with the New York Life. So, somebody just putting this out there, he wasn't a Ben Feldman, but on the West Coast, in Oakland especially, he was quite an insurance hero himself. So
Ben's famous statement was pennies on the dollar, huh?
Yes, I do. Now I remember that. Pennies on the dollar. That you pay pennies and you get back dollars. And there was another one he had, somebody dies, somebody suffers.
That's right.
If you, just as a power phrase, that worked pretty well. It's funny because the whole life contract, and we're getting off the subject, and I'm sure
we sure are. We better talk about something.
Real quick, I just want to tell you how the whole life contract over the years got a lot of bad rap, but when the bottom fell out, whole life insurance proved to be a pretty good investment over the years. So
the big real estate guy from Texas had a bunch of whole life policies, and the real estate market went. And so the cash he had, he borrowed from his whole life insurance policies. What was that guy's name? I forget now. Big time guy, real estate guy in Texas. But yeah, you're right. I mean, those things work, man, big time.
They work, and when you borrow against the policy, there's another provision with New York Life that you could use the dividends to ensure the cash value, so that if anything does happen to you, your family gets to keep the whole proceeds, and that's very important.
Right. Of course.
So that's enough insurance for my lifetime. I'm 72 coming up in November, Rod. So Mert is a few months behind. The only senior is Alan, who thinks he has me beat. But you think you have me beat by being 8 years old in 1951 and being a baseball fan? I was 4 and a half, and my grandfather...
I don't look at it that way, yeah. I just feel like...
I don't mean as a competition.
When I started following that, I was very lucky.
One last thing on the insurance business. It's been good to us. I'm still in the business, not selling like I used to, but it's a great business.
I didn't know that. Do you happen to be with New York Life?
No. I wish I would have when I started originally, I'm with someone else. But I broker out over the years, but still, it's a great business. You're helping people, and that's the bottom line.
Absolutely that. There is no question. And, again, the contract stood up over the years, and you could always take a chance. And, another thing that stood up is Social Security. And way back then, we didn't think that would.
Right. I agree. But, it's a good, Social Security is not bad. Hopefully it's around for our kids, so we'll see.
Rod?
Okay.
Rod?
Anything else you want to leave us with? What do you want? What would you tell your grandkids that you didn't get to hear about the sport when you were coming up?
Yeah, well, I had no background in baseball, professional baseball growing up. I had nobody in the family that played, so all they know is what they see on TV, and I can tell them things. Our oldest son, I worked him hard when he was younger because he wanted to be a ball player. I said, okay, I'll work your butt off, which I did, and he was blessed with great ability to play, and he ended up signing. He was Detroit's number 1 draft pick in 1994. So, he has a background in the game, but the rest of the family, not really. They love it. They love the game. They coach their kids in the game. But You know what I would tell people is that don't get your hopes up to play professional baseball, because not many guys can play it, or professional golf, or professional anything, basketball, football. It's not, I don't, especially my grandkids, I don't want them let down big time. Cause, out here where we live, and it's probably more so than anywhere in the country, I really believe we're the best athletes in the world in Southern California. And where we live in South Orange County, probably more so, and not just baseball, but, football. You got Mark Sanchez and the other guy's still playing quarterback out of Santa Margarita High School. I'll think of his name. Then you got all these top grade swimmers and divers, Greg Louganis, and golfers. You got Tiger Woods from Cyprus. You pick a sport. Doesn't make water polo, surfing. Doesn't make any difference. The best athletes, to me, are in Southern California, probably South Orange County, and a lot of that probably has to do with people who have some money. Not that money's the big deal. It's not impressive to me for sure, but but people who do have some bucks and have a talented kid can bring them out here to play sport year round, gymnastics, tennis, golf. Doesn't make any difference. Pick a sport, but people come out here and bring their kids and supposedly get some great teaching to help their kids improve, which I'm not a big fan of, but there's some good athletes out here. But I try to let people know that, man, don't get fired up that your kid's going to be a big-time pro athlete, because it's not easy. Every level gets tougher and tougher and tougher,
Right.
From junior high.
Can you address the injuries? Could playing all year round, or these traveling
injuries
teams?
Injuries as far as kids? Yeah, this traveling stuff stinks as far as I'm concerned. I had guys bump my kids all the time. I wouldn't let my kids play. I said, you got me. Not that I'm anything special, but I play the game. I know what you got to do to the sign. And that's a bunch of hooey to get money out of parents. They'll tell your kids all kinds of stuff. You got these guys who, will come in and call you and say, hey, let me take film of your kid and I'll throw it out throughout the country for scholarships and all this. I say, no. I said, my kid's not good enough to get a scholarship on his own. I'm not going to have some guy pimping for him. I don't believe in that stuff. If the kid's got talent and he wants to work his tail off, like our oldest son did, I'll work his tail off. I'll work his butt off, especially if he has great ability, which he did. But, not many kids have that ability, to play pro sports. And so I just try to let people know that, man, don't get disappointed if you can't get past high school or you can't get past college, because it's not easy out there. And another problem is you could have Tom Sievers and Nolan Ryan, or any guys that know a lot more than I do. These pitchers nowadays, there's 5 innings or 100-pitch limits, a bunch of BS. When we were back there for that 40th reunion in 2009, and
right.
Nolan came. Nolan doesn't usually come to these things, and so half of the Mets were on one third base dugout, the other half of the 6-9 Mets were on the first base dugout, and I happened to be on the side with Nolan, and so guys were asking him questions, in the before we went out to the field, and somebody said, Nolan, what's the most pitches you threw in one game? They asked Ryan this, okay? What do you think his answer was? How many pitches? You give me some numbers, if you guys.
Over 200.
I'll give you 170.
Okay, go ahead.
160.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I'll give you over 200.
Okay, Alan?
Yes.
Oh, okay. 200, okay, and Ralph said
I said I think I said 170, and Mert said 150, and we have to go over the actual limit without the quiz show. But what is it?
240.
Oh my God!
He threw 240 pitches in one game, and it wouldn't surprise me, knowing Nolan, if he didn't do it when he was in his late 30s. So, pitching or throwing, and I used to do it with my son. I used to have him throw a long distance. We started at 90 feet, 120, 150, 200, 300 feet, and just develop that strength in your arm, long distance throwing. And he had a rocket for an arm. I had a decent arm, but he had a better arm than I did. He could throw the ball 300 feet on a line, 10 feet high off the ground. And that's how you develop arm strength. These guys nowadays, I don't know if they throw long distance. I have no clue what they do. But obviously when Sievers and Ryan say, why are these guys getting hurt? And look at the old-time players, back from Bob Feller and before that. My goodness, those guys threw forever. Throwing is a muscle. You got to throw long distance to develop that arm strength. Who comes up with this stuff nowadays? I got no clue. When Nolan was with Texas Rangers, when he was running that program, remember when he made his starting pitchers? He wanted them to go at least 7 or 8 innings. Remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
Texas Rangers? There's something in that logic, and I agree with it. You throw a long distance, you're going to strengthen, those little muscles or tendons or whatever it is in your shoulders that need to be strengthened. But I don't know if it's going to happen. A kid throws 5 in the 3rd innings, and he gets 100 pitches, he's gone. That's all.
Yeah, seems to be going in the opposite direction. Yeah.
And all these top surgeries they have nowadays, they never used to have those. I don't know many guys who were ever on the disabled list. One guy of my roommates, Gary Gentry, he had arm problems, but I don't remember too many. But different times. Who knows? I just don't think there's a toughness this day and age. In fact, I know there's not a toughness in this day and age. But
Marty, you want to ask anything you want to ask before we close it out? I'm going to ask you and Alan that same thing.
I would just like to get back to the 1969, if you don't mind. There was a doubleheader that the Mets won both games 1-0, and I believe the pitchers drove both runs in. What's your recollection of that?
Do you remember who the pitchers were?
I think one was Ray Sadecki.
No, he wasn't. Don Cardwell and Jerry Kuzma.
No?
Sadecki was 73 too, Mert. We both made 69,
Don Cardwell and Jerry Kuzma were the 2 pitchers, I believe.
It was Alan. It was Kuzman and Cardwell.
Nice.
And
nice.
They both threw 1-0 win in that double. And I tell when I speak to people, I give talks sometime. I tell the story, and I said that's the kind of team we had. They both, our starting pitcher in each game knocked in the only run. I don't think that's ever been done in the history of baseball. And Cardwell was a good hitter. Kuzman wasn't a good hitter, but he worked on his hit. He thought he was a good hitter, but he wasn't that good of a hitter. But he knocked in a run, and Cardwell knocked in a run. Now Cardwell, he had a number of home runs. Go ahead.
Do you have a Tug McGraw story?
Oh, gee, Tug, nicest guy in the world. It's so sad.
Sad that he passed so
early. Good guy.
Yes.
And what a comedian. He could have been a stand-up comedian. I remember we were in New Jersey or somewhere, some card show, and he wanted to go to New York to this nightclub. This buddy of his was a comedian who was doing his act, and nobody would go with him. I said, Tug, I'll go with you. So he and I went over there. We had and that's really the only special time I ever spent with him, but ended up meeting his friend, and who became a friend of mine. But, we had, when we were there early on, we were both young, and he was married to Phyllis at the time. Of course, I just got married to Sheridan in the 1970s. We had dinner with him a few times, but he was just wonderful. He was great. And, of course, his son, Tim McGraw, is not a bad country western singer anyway.
Not a bad one at all.
Not bad. I love him. Let me tell you one
and that family is...
What's that?
Family is from Vallejo, California, and I'm in the Air Force going to junior college. It was Vallejo Junior College when Tug went there, and one of his brothers, I'm sitting in the cafeteria, and one of his brothers is a student there. I don't remember if it was the catcher that came up or another brother, but the tremendous family, and I don't know. Do you remember the catcher? Did you play with him in the minors?
I played with Hank in Hawaii. Hank,
that was his name. Yes. Hank
another good guy. I think he lives in Tennessee now, because that's where Tug ended up dying at his son at Tim's place in Tennessee, I believe. But Tug, he was wonderful. He was good friend. Him and Crane Pool were roommates. He was good friends with Sabota, Crane Pool, and the guys. And of course, Tug proved to be one of the greatest relievers ever of Philadelphia and with us. And let me tell you one Sabota story, and you guys probably remember this. Remember when we played in St. Louis, was 115 or 20 on the carpet there, and Steve Carlton struck out 19 Mets? Remember that?
I asked you about that game, yeah.
So you remember, that we beat him 4-3 because the other two times that Sabota didn't strike out, he hit two-run home runs. That was just the kind of year we had. How can you beat that? And starting pitchers knocking in the only run in a doubleheader, and it just goes on and on and on.
Do you have recollections of the Quails game when Seaver lost the no-hitter?
Yeah. I was playing right field. I was hoping he'd hit the ball to me, but he hit that ball to left center, and Tommy, it was a clean hit. If I did play in center field, because I'm left-handed, I might have had a shot at that ball, because my glove hand is on the right side, where A.G. was, right-handed. So his glove hand's on the left side, where he has to reach across his body. To me, you always want the ball hit to you. That's the way
that's interesting, because that's an interesting mindset. I'll bet you always want the ball hit to you, but I'll bet there are players that are going, hit to somebody else, hit to somebody else.
That's right.
Right?
You want the ball. Oh, yeah, no doubt. That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah. Man, this has been terrific. Alan, anything you want to add?
I'd like to ask Rod about whether or not he enjoyed the card shows.
Yes, I enjoy the people there, and like I tell people, some of those people know more about Gaspar than I know about myself, and that brings up things to me that I don't remember. It's incredible. You know how New Yorkers are.
Yes.
I do, and I had a guy call me. I had a couple guys call me this year to go, but I didn't want to really go this time. But hopefully they'll have a 50-year reunion, for the Mets, and we can all hook up again. Yeah, but the card shows are
absolutely
fun.
And believe me, that those years will pass very fast.
Right.
So
you do.
It'll be 50 before you know it.
I know. A couple more years. Now,
yeah.
Alan, Marty, did you have anything else?
I'm gonna go around the table again. Marty, would you like to ask anything else?
I'm tapped out, Ralph. Thank you.
Okay.
And Alan and Marty, excuse me, Ralph, and Alan and Marty, if you want to call me on a personal basis and talk about the Mets or whatever, I'll be glad to, talk to you about those things. I know you guys didn't get a chance to say much, but I did most of the talking. But feel free to call me anytime.
Thank you.
And also, I hope I can call you and you'll come back and we can do this again.
Yeah, sure.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, Ralph.
Thank you so much. And all of us will think of things tomorrow or in the 10 minutes later that we hadn't asked. So I'm glad you'll come back sometime.
So, Ralph, give Alan and Marty my email address too if they want it.
I will. And it did go through this last time, correct?
Well, yeah, I got you. So the first, I don't know what I got before. Anyway,
right.
No problem. I'm glad we hooked up.
We get it, and I'm going to send you a link to this show as soon as I put it up within a few days. And
okay.
I'm glad you were here. This is terrific for all three of us.
Good. Well, if I can help you with anybody else, I'll be glad to. If I could, get somebody else on the program.
Rod's been on these airwaves. Ron Swoboda's been on these airwaves before.
Right.
Duffy Dyer has been on these airwaves.
Yeah.
I would love if you could get Jerry Grody to spend some more time.
I don't know if I can get Grody, but
okay.
But, if I can, I'll do what I can.
All right.
He's a hard guy.
Hey, Coos wouldn't be bad, and I have to say, even though I'll still take Seaver.
I'm sure you'll take all of them.
Well, I take all of them.
The guys I have in contact with are Bobby File and Art Shamsky and Sabota. You already got Sabota. So those, and Boswell, I don't think he does much. So, but
Shamsky would be terrific. Shamsky,
yeah,
Bobby File. I have a wall with baseball cards, Met baseball cards, and I have not only a Rod Gaspar from the same year. I must have been the 70 card. I have a Bobby File up on the. And
he's
most
up here in your area.
You want to hear a story about him? Quick one.
Oh, really? Yes, please.
Yeah. They had
I didn't know he was up this way.
I have a friend, Harvey Porras, who has the second or third biggest collection of Met memorabilia.
Wow.
And Bobby File, they brought Bobby File out to a hotel by Kennedy Airport a bunch of years ago to do a card show. Now, he has the picture, the team picture. He has everybody signed except for Gil Hodges.
Oh, wow.
And Bobby File was the last one remaining. So Bobby File, who wasn't even eligible in the World Series, did a card show out by Kennedy Airport, and he went out there and he said the line was like 2 times around the block. And only because Bobby File was in that picture.
That's right.
That's right. The promoters, I think, were charging in those days like $15 an autograph for him.
Wow.
And the line
he does
wrapped around the block twice. Yeah.
He doesn't go to the card shows. Bobby does.
No,
but I'll mention it.
This team is still as popular here as you ever were.
Yeah, right. Well,
yes, absolutely. It was. Thank you for the. As a Mets fan, I can't begin to tell you because Mert understated it. He said something like, "Well, they were terrible for all those years before." Believe me, it was understated. They were terrible in a way that you couldn't imagine. You couldn't write a script early on, and to get better like that, and to talk to you as a part of it, we're all three really digging this, Rod. Believe me.
Well, good. My pleasure. I remember Casey saying, "Can't anybody here play this game?" Remember that?
That's right. That's right.
See, we came along. We came along later. We weren't used to the guys that end up being on 6-9 minutes. We weren't used to losing. At least I wasn't. I think most of those guys. So.
No, they came along with the new attitude, and
That's right.
It was nice.
But,
it was nice. And that you mentioned Whitey Herzog. I don't know where you lived in New York. Did you live right across the street where Herzog lived in that big brown building, in that big building with the swimming pool?
In '69, I was single. I was all over the place. So.
Oh, okay.
Get married in 1970, so I was.
Well, then there are stories that will never be told because this isn't that kind of program. But we leave it to you. We leave it to the audience's imagination, and believe me, the imagination is better than the real thing a lot of times.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes it is.
All right.
All right. Well, thank
you all three.
You're welcome.
And we'll catch both of you guys next week and Rod in the near future. Thank you again.
Okay, my pleasure. Thanks,
care. Rod. Okay. Bye, guys.
You're welcome.
Bye, everybody, and keep on keeping on. Adios.
Okay. All right.